Imagine setting a wildly ambitious goal, like trying to onboard 1,000 blockchain organizations into just one single localized ecosystem by the end of 2022.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, that sounds like, well, it sounds like an arbitrary top-down mandate that's just completely doomed to fall short, right?
Exactly. But the initiative we're looking at today, they didn't just hit that target, they actually smashed it 7 months early.
Which is just wild when you think about the timeline.
And it is. By September 2022, they were sitting at over 1,400 organizations and like more than 7,000 individuals actively working in the sector.
And the acceleration there is, it's really what makes this impossible to ignore. I mean, if you look at the period between July 2020 and June 2021, the UAE's crypto market valuation hit $25 billion.
Wait, 25 billion in just that 1 year?
Yeah, a 500% growth spike in a single year. So we aren't just looking at, a temporary trend or a fad. We're looking at a massive, deliberate capital migration.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, we were doing a deep dive into the Crypto Oasis Ecosystem Report 2022.
Right, which was put together in partnership with Roland Berger.
Exactly. And our mission today is to figure out exactly how the UAE became the fastest growing blockchain ecosystem on the planet. And, more importantly, what this geopolitical pivot means for you. Whether you're an investor, a builder, or just someone watching the next iteration of the internet unfold.
Yeah, because to really understand the sheer scale of what is happening in the UAE, you have to look at the historical mechanics of how tech dominance actually moves around the globe.
Right. It's almost like a relay race, isn't it?
That's a great way to put it. I mean, capital and talent, they always flow toward the path of least regulatory resistance. So for a really long time, Silicon Valley just possessed this undisputed monopoly on raw engineering talent and venture capital.
Right. Everybody went to the valley.
Exactly. But as Web3 and decentralized technologies started to emerge, the regulatory climate in those traditional tech hubs became incredibly murky, and in some cases, pretty combative.
Which triggered this immediate brain drain.
Yes. You saw developers and capital migrating toward Europe, specifically to places like Zug, Switzerland.
Ah, right, the original Crypto Valley.
Right. Zug is the perfect historical parallel to what we are seeing now. Back in 2013, early pioneers like the Ethereum Foundation and Bitcoin Suisse set up shop in that specific Swiss canton for a very calculated reason.
Let me guess, taxes and rules.
Hit the nail on the head. The local government offered regulatory certainty and progressive tax laws for a technology that, frankly, the rest of the world was either completely ignoring or actively threatening to ban.
And the founder of Crypto Oasis, Ralph Glabishnik, he was actually a big part of that, right?
He was. He was instrumental in building that original crypto valley in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And now he's looking at the Middle East and basically executing the exact same foundational blueprint.
But like injected with the hyper-growth capital of Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Exactly. It's the Swiss model, but on rocket fuel.
So looking at the report, it breaks down those 1,400 organizations into two distinct categories. It says 66% are native and 34% are non-native. And just to clarify, native companies are, the layer one protocols, the crypto exchanges, the platforms that were born directly on the blockchain.
Correct.
But it's that 34% non-native figure that actually really catches my eye.
Oh, absolutely. That 34% is the crucial bridge between, speculative tech and the actual real-world economy.
Because these are traditional companies, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about traditional finance institutions, legacy logistics firms, healthcare companies that are actively pivoting to adopt a distributed ledger technology.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when a third of your blockchain ecosystem consists of legacy businesses, you're no longer in a speculative bubble. The technology is maturing into a foundational utility.
I do wonder, though, how deep that non-native adoption really goes. I mean, are these legacy companies just like launching a PR campaign saying, oh, we're exploring Web3, or is there actual financial commitment behind it?
Well, the venture capital data answers that pretty directly. The UAE is now commanding 46% of all venture capital flowing into the MENA region.
Wait, almost half?
Almost half. Traditional money is absolutely following the technological pivot. And furthermore, the country led the entire world in attracting high net worth individuals in 2022.
So the capital is aggressively anchoring itself to this specific physical geography.
Completely.
But hold on, let me play devil's advocate for a second. The entire philosophical premise of Web3 is decentralization, right? It's inherently borderless.
Sure.
So the idea of a physical supercluster, like the Crypto Oasis, it kind of feels like a massive contradiction. Why are 7,000 individuals packing their bags to move to the desert when they could theoretically, commit code to GitHub from a laptop anywhere on Earth?
It's a really fascinating paradox of where we're at in the current Web3 development phase.
How so?
Well, the technology itself is trustless and decentralized, yes. But the act of building it, it's deeply human.
Oh, interesting.
Right. When you are constructing an entirely new financial infrastructure from the ground up, you need a density of talent that allows for rapid, multidisciplinary iteration.
Because it's not just coding anymore.
Exactly. A Zoom call just doesn't cut it. When a developer who's, writing a complex smart contract needs immediate, nuanced feedback from a tokenomics lawyer and a venture capitalist.
Right, just to ensure the protocol they're launching doesn't accidentally violate some international securities law.
Precisely. The stakes are too high for lag.
So the physical proximity acts as an accelerant. It's like a specialized water cooler effect for an industry that's just moving way too fast for asynchronous communication. You literally need to bump into the right people in the hallway.
You really do. You cannot build the infrastructure for a trustless digital world without high-trust physical relationships among the builders.
That makes a lot of sense.
And you cannot have that kind of concentrated human capital without incredibly clear rules of engagement.
Which brings us to the regulation side of things. Salman Jaffrey from the Dubai International Financial Center, the DIFC, he frames this evolution in 3 distinct historical phases.
Oh, the Dubai 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 concept. Let's break those down. Yeah, so Dubai 1.0 was really about establishing the foundational hard infrastructure and becoming a regional financial hub.
So pouring the concrete, building the ports, that kind of thing.
Exactly, just getting on the map. Then Dubai 2.0 deepened that services market. That was about bringing in sophisticated market dynamics, international law firms, global banking branches.
Making it a true corporate hub.
Right. And now Dubai 3.0 is entirely focused on the digital and crypto revolution.
And what's interesting in the source material is that they didn't reach this Dubai 3.0 phase by just operating as the Wild West. They actually took the exact opposite approach and went incredibly aggressive on regulation.
They really did. Back in 2018, the Abu Dhabi Global Market, the ADGM, launched a bespoke virtual asset regulatory framework.
And just for context, 2018 is ancient history in crypto years. I mean, most global regulators weren't even paying attention back then. Or if they were, they're just issuing blanket warnings.
Yeah, they moved with intense foresight. And following the ADGM, the DIFC rolled out comprehensive security token regulations. And then Dubai established VAR.
VARA, the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority.
Exactly. VAR is essentially the world's first independent regulator explicitly dedicated to virtual assets.
Oh, it's huge.
It is, because they didn't try to shoehorn decentralized tokens into century-old securities laws that were designed for paper stock certificates.
Right, the whole square peg, round hole problem.
Exactly. They built a new framework from scratch to categorize and govern different types of digital assets based on their actual utility.
You know, people usually treat government regulation as a speed bump, like it's just this bureaucratic red tape that inevitably slows down product velocity.
Yeah, that's the common perception.
But in the Crypto Oasis, regulation functions more like the painted lines and guardrails on a pitch-black highway.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Because when you know exactly where the edges of the road are, you can comfortably drive 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
But if you're a founder building in a completely unregulated market, you're driving 20 miles an hour because you are terrified of driving off a cliff into, a retroactive regulatory lawsuit.
The behavioral economics of that guardrail mechanism are undeniable. Certainty breeds velocity. Period.
Yeah.
But the way the UAE maintains those guardrails is just as important as the rules themselves. The report goes into detail about the formation of the Digital Asset Association, or D2A2.
Right, launched by the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is they launched with 25 founding members right out of the gate.
But this isn't just some closed-door government committee issuing decrees from on high, is it?
No, not at all. It is an active consortium sitting squarely at the intersection of industry and policy. You have crypto exchanges, blockchain analytics firms, corporate law firms, and traditional banks sitting at the exact same table as the regulators.
Which is pretty rare.
Very rare. Garang Desai, the chairman of D2A2, he points out that because blockchain evolves practically by the week, static, rigid regulation is entirely useless.
It just becomes obsolete before the ink is even dry.
Right. So by structuring this continuous formal dialogue, they ensure the rules actually protect consumers without accidentally outlawing the next major technological breakthrough.
That feedback loop is critical.
Exactly. If a new type of decentralized finance protocol emerges, the regulators hear about the mechanics directly from the developers who are building it.
Instead of reading about it in a panic 6 months later in the news.
Exactly.
Okay, so if VARA and the ADGM are drawing the blueprints and setting the guardrails, the economic free zones are where the physical concrete is actually being poured.
Yes, the free zones.
Because these free zones are the operational engines designed to strip away the usual friction of scaling an international business.
And the model is heavily optimized to attract foreign founders and capital. I mean, they offer 100% foreign ownership, zero tax environments for specific corporate activities, and just incredibly streamlined licensing processes.
And the report zeroes in specifically on the DMCC, right? The Dubai Multi-Commodity Center.
Yeah. Just their crypto center alone houses over 460 crypto businesses.
That's staggering.
It is. To put that in perspective, that is roughly half of all the crypto firms operating in the entire UAE, all sitting in one highly concentrated hub.
And the influx is so massive that they are literally running out of physical space. The report mentions they're expanding operations into the new Uptown Tower just to handle the sheer volume of companies trying to set up shop.
Yeah, the demand is off the charts.
But the core value proposition of a free zone isn't just cheap real estate or tax breaks, it's the hyperconnectivity.
How do you mean?
Well, if you launch a Web3 startup in the DMCC, you are immediately plugged into a network of 21,000 member companies spanning energy, agriculture, healthcare, logistics.
Oh, absolutely. That built-in marketplace is critical for early-stage survival.
Right.
A developer building, say, a Layer 2 supply chain tracking protocol,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to fly around the world pitching pilot programs. They are literally sharing an elevator with multinational logistics companies who are heavily incentivized to modernize their tech stacks.
Here's where it gets incredibly interesting, though. Because the loudest criticism of Web3, and you hear this constantly in traditional tech circles, is that blockchain is a solution desperately looking for a problem.
Oh, the classic critique.
Right. The prevailing argument is that beyond trading speculative tokens, no one is actually using distributed ledgers to solve real-world inefficiencies.
Yeah.
But the UAE government is completely dismantling that narrative because they aren't just creating a regulatory sandbox for other people to play in. The government itself is acting as the anchor customer.
This completely reframes the utility of the technology.
Mm.
We are moving past theoretical white papers and limited pilot programs into full-on enterprise-scale municipal adoption.
The report outlines several major use cases that are just wild. The underlying mechanics of how the UAE is deploying this tech are really worth breaking down.
Let's do it. Let's look at DW first.
Yeah.
The Dubai Electricity and Water Authority.
Right. The report notes they are processing around 2,000 Ijari tenancy contracts every single day using blockchain.
And for anyone listening who isn't familiar with the local system, Ijari is the mandatory framework that registers all rental contracts in Dubai.
Right. But the immediate question someone might ask is, why put that on a blockchain? I mean, a standard centralized SQL database can easily hold a list of rental contracts.
That's the million-dollar question. And the answer is that a centralized database holds the data, yes, but it doesn't inherently create trust or interoperability between entirely separate municipal entities.
Not without a middleman manually verifying everything.
Exactly. By putting those 2,000 daily contracts on a distributed ledger, DWA creates an immutable, cryptographically secure record of who is renting what property and exactly when.
Okay, let's map out how that actually changes the user experience.
Sure. So when a new tenant signs a lease, that transaction is verified and permanently locked into the network. And because it's a shared ledger, that single action instantly syncs with the water authority, the electricity grid, and the telecommunications providers, all at once, without any human intervention or manual data entry across different departments.
So instead of a resident taking a paper lease, driving to the water company, waiting in line, and having some clerk manually type their information into a completely separate siloed database, the smart contract basically executes the entire civic onboarding process simultaneously.
You got it. It completely eliminates the friction of civic plumbing.
That's incredible, and I imagine it cuts down on fraud, too.
Drastically, you completely remove the possibility of a landlord fraudulently double renting an apartment or someone tampering with the lease dates because the ledger is transparent and instantly verifiable across all those municipal nodes.
And the friction reduction at a municipal scale, I mean, that translates to massive economic and temporal saving.
Oh, huge savings. And the Dubai Land Department is executing a very similar integration. They've built a blockchain system designed to record all real estate contracts.
Which is a big deal in Dubai.
A very big deal. In a high turnover, heavily international real estate market like Dubai, establishing an unbroken, instantly verifiable chain of title for a property prevents massive amounts of title fraud, and it dramatically speeds up settlement times.
And that ultimately makes the technology invisible to the end user, which honestly is exactly what has to happen for mass adoption.
Completely agree.
The person renting the apartment or buying the condo doesn't know they're interacting with Web3 infrastructure. They just know their lights turned on 5 seconds after they signed the lease on their smartphone and their property deed transferred instantly.
That's the dream of Web3, right there. And we are seeing this deep integration across multiple vectors of government. Look at Dubai Customs.
What are they doing?
They rolled out a blockchain-based platform explicitly designed for cross-border e-commerce. Think about the severe logistical friction of international shipping. You have manufacturers, freight forwarders, border customs officials, and last-mile delivery services.
All maintaining their own completely separate proprietary databases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which usually requires days of manual reconciliation and paperwork just to move a single shipping container through a port.
So how does the ledger fix that?
By moving that entire workflow to a shared digital ledger, Dubai Customs allows all those disjointed stakeholders to track a shipment's provenance and clearance status in real time. It cuts the clearance time down from days to literal minutes.
Wow. From days to minutes. That is a massive efficiency leap. And it's not just logistics either. Even the Dubai police are integrating the tech. The report notes they are utilizing NFTs.
Yes.
Now, usually when people hear NFT, they think of like overpriced digital art or cartoon profile pictures. How on earth is a municipal police force using non-fungible tokens?
It's entirely about verifiable digital identity and credentialing.
Okay, unpack that.
While the public often views NFTs through the lens of digital art, the underlying mechanical utility of a non-fungible token for a government entity is the ability to issue unforgeable digital certificates.
I see.
It represents real-world commendations, secure credentials, or verifiable clearances that simply cannot be duplicated or altered. It's about proving strict authenticity in a digital space that is otherwise very easily manipulatable.
The ultimate validation of all this municipal infrastructure, though, comes from the macroeconomic side, because the report highlights that the Central Bank of the UAE is actively developing a central bank digital currency, or a CBDC.
Yes, targeting a launch by 2026.
Right. And when the central monetary authority of a country is architecting its future monetary policy directly on a digital ledger, I feel like the debate over whether the underlying technology has fundamental utility is just definitively over.
Oh, absolutely. The debate is over. A CBDC completely changes the velocity and the programmable nature of money.
Because it removes the intermediaries.
Exactly. It allows the central bank to facilitate instantaneous cross-border settlements without relying on the slow, really expensive legacy system of correspondent banks. It dramatically reduces the cost of remittances.
Which is huge for the UAE.
Massive. For a region that relies so heavily on a global expatriate workforce and massive volumes of international trade, a CBDC is not just a cool technological upgrade. It is a massive strategic and geopolitical advantage.
So if you're a builder trying to figure out where to deploy your next application, or an investor trying to understand the long-term viability of digital assets, the UAE is essentially providing a live-action blueprint.
They really are.
They're stress testing what a fully integrated, blockchain-powered society looks like at scale.
And the economic projections attached to this structural pivot really highlight the stakes here. The report points specifically to the Dubai Metaverse strategy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, an initiative designed to turn the emirate into one of the world's top metaverse economies. That strategy alone is projected to add $4 billion to Dubai's economy and support 40,000 virtual jobs by 2030.
40,000 virtual jobs. That's a whole new sector. I mean, we're talking about architects designing digital twins of physical infrastructure, developers coding immersive retail experiences, and economists managing tokenized municipal assets.
It is an entirely parallel digital economy being birthed in real time.
It's incredible.
It's about proactively capturing the next massive wave of digital value creation rather than just waiting for the technology to mature somewhere else and then trying to catch up later.
Let's take a step back and look at the macro picture we've just laid out.
Yeah.
We are talking about an industry that just a few years ago was highly nomadic, widely misunderstood, and honestly, aggressively resisting any form of institutional oversight.
Very true.
We've watched how that entire sector's center of gravity shifted globally. It sought out a regulatory safe harbor, it institutionalized its operations, and now it is literally managing a major global city's power, water, real estate, and eventual monetary policy.
Yeah.
It went from the fringes of internet forums to the heavily backed, meticulously regulated heart of the crypto oasis.
It highlights a really crucial lesson in technology adoption. Aggressive ambition only scales when it is paired with regulatory clarity. The ecosystem the UAE has engineered, balancing these hyper-innovative native Web3 startups with massive legacy institutions and putting them all in a continuous active feedback loop with forward-thinking regulators,
Yeah.
it's an incredibly difficult structural needle to thread.
But the massive capital inflows and the physical relocation of 7,000 industry professionals suggest they are absolutely pulling it off.
They are. It forces a complete reevaluation of how geographic policy dictates technological dominance. You cannot just build the tech, you have to engineer the environment that allows the tech to legally and operationally thrive.
It's all about the ecosystem.
Synthesizing all of this source material leaves me with one lingering, somewhat paradoxical question, though.
Oh, what's that?
Well, the report heavily emphasizes the UAE's massive investment in Web3 and the metaverse, right?
Right.
These are technologies fundamentally designed to dissolve physical borders and make geography completely irrelevant.
Yeah, that's the whole point of a virtual world.
So, as we move closer and closer to a fully immersive, decentralized digital world, we have to ask, will massive physical tech hubs like the Crypto Oasis eventually become obsolete? Or will the deeply human need to physically gather, build trust, and iterate together always remain the ultimate anchor for virtual innovation?
Wow. That is an incredible tension to leave on. As we build the very tools designed to help us escape geography, we still find ourselves needing to sit in the same physical rooms to build them. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the crypto oasis. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next one.